A number of years ago, one of the men who has raised me in the faith looked at me and said, "Peter, you need to know that silence speaks." And what he meant by that was this: when a Christian is silent about their own weaknesses, what it makes other people assume is that they don't struggle with the same things that they do. It wasn't until recently that I learned that the famous English evangelist C.H. Spurgeon walked through periods of darkness and depression. In fact, in his series of books called Lectures to My Students, he recorded a very long chapter on his fits of depression. He said, "Spiritual darkness of any kind is to be avoided and not desired. And yet, surprising as it may seem to be, it is a fact that some of God's best people frequently walk in darkness. Some of them are wrapped in a sevenfold gloom at times, and to them neither sun nor moon nor stars appear. The very choicest of God's people travel most of the way to heaven by night. They do not rejoice in the light of God's countenance, though they trust in the shadow of his wings. They are on the way to eternal light, and yet they walk that way in darkness." The best place to see a bright star is on a dark night. And sometimes some of us are living too close to large cities, and we can't see the stars. But it's when you get into deep darkness that you see the stars very clearly. Life is like that at times. Sometimes we will recognize some of the deeper truths of Christ in our darkness. I'm so thankful that Scripture says light will shine out of darkness, not necessarily instead of darkness. In the Scriptures, Jesus often healed people of physical illness. He can heal people of psychological illness. But we also need to know that, as with Paul, he may not choose to do this. Paul said of Jesus that Jesus said to him, "My grace is sufficient for you, so I'm not going to remove this weakness from you, but I want to prove my strength in it." Some of us have soul weakness and soul sickness that God, for whatever reason, has left there. But we may know that his grace is sufficient and light can shine out of, not necessarily instead of, darkness. You're not alone. And Jesus is the one who would be very pleased to work through that darkness for the benefit and blessing of somebody else. Maybe, just maybe, God has entrusted a certain amount of darkness to you and to me, so that for those of us who know Christ are able to come alongside somebody who's walking through darkness themselves, put our arm around them, and just say 2 words to comfort them. I understand. Sometimes that's the only thing that a person walking in darkness needs, is somebody who walks that same road to come along and say, "I not only understand, but I've discovered Christ who lives in my darkness with me. Light shall shine out of darkness so that the power may be of him and not for ourselves."